What is going on, guys? Welcome back, guys, to another Chef's Garage video. I really apologize for not uploading for 2 weeks. That's right, 2 weeks. This is my second time recording this driving video. The first time I recorded it on my GoPro. Now, the problem with recording on a GoPro is that you don't really know if it's pointing in the right direction or not. So now I'm filming on my Canon G7X camera, and the GoPro filming was all super choppy, so I couldn't upload a video like that for you guys. So I'm redoing it again, and I'm gonna have my brother ride with me for this driving video. In this driving video, I'm gonna give you my first impressions, as well as you guys can see me drive as well, about my Mark 8 GTI. As you may know, the Mark 8 GTI, from other driving reviews, other reviewers said it felt a lot more differently. But the question really is, on what I'm going to try to be answering in this video, is I'm going to be comparing it to a Mark 7, a Mark 7 GTI, a car that I've driven before. So we're going to find out if it's really worth the upgrade to those Mark 7 owners, and if it's really a GTI that we all known and loved. So without further ado, let's get straight on the road to this driving video. Alright, so let's get started. So there are going to be a number of things I'm going to be talking about on this drive. Obviously my first impressions. I've had the car for over 500 miles, so this is going to be a more, let's say, interesting drive. This is mainly just going to be city driving. I'm mainly going to be testing handling, speed, as well as how is this car work as a daily driver or a daily commuter for people, because the main people that actually buy this type of car, hot hatchback, really are car people that just want a good daily driver, and that's what I'm mainly going to be focusing on in this video, obviously. So let's start off with some of the good things I like about it, and I'll get to some of the bad parts in general. Then I'll probably get into some other parts, kind of like sound, the engine, power, stuff like that in this video. So let's start off with some of the good things I like about this car. So over the past, I would say maybe month, I think I've had this car for a month. I've done 505 miles so far. I have really enjoyed this car. There are a lot of things to like about it. First of all, is that I like how VW didn't make it bigger. And that's one of the things that I like about it, is because that normally in these days in the car industry, everyone's making their cars so much bigger. Volvo, for example, with their XC90. Volvo, the previous generation XC90 was very, it was a lot smaller. It was still big for an SUV, but this generation in 2022, it's almost massive compared to the older one, obviously. And that's what I really like about this car, is that it's still the same size as the previous generation, the Mark 7. And keep in mind, I've actually driven a Mark 7 GTI before, and I really like that side of that car. Even though this may be a little bit bigger, a little bit wider, it does still handle, or still feel, the same size as a Mark 7. I'm going to be comparing a lot to the Mark 7 in this video. So quality in the interior, on the other hand, is not the same as the Mark 7, but I'll get to that in a second. But what I really like about this car are the screen setup. So this is VW's new screen setup for this car. You can see it right here. You basically get two displays. You get two basically displays, one for your instrument cluster, kind of like Audi's virtual cockpit, and you get a screen here that has Apple CarPlay. This is the exact same kind of setup that's in like the Volkswagen ID4. This does take some getting used to. A lot of the people that are driving, or a lot of the reviewers, say that this is ridiculous. They don't really like it compared to the Mark 7. I somewhat disagree. I think I'm a person, I mean, us humans, it takes a lot to adapt to change, and I get why people don't like it, but again, these reviewers haven't actually spent enough time with the car, maybe 1 or 2 days. I've spent a good month driving this as my only car, and I honestly, I felt it out as an issue at the beginning part of this, part of ownership. But honestly, after driving this car for a month, I haven't found this to be that big of an issue. Sure, the buttons down here, for example, that are not lit, you can see them in the daytime. The nighttime, it's just even worse. Yeah, but since these aren't lit at night, it's really hard and difficult to see, and I get the reviewers' problems with that, but honestly, having an all touchscreen isn't that big of a problem. I mean, sure, yes, when you're driving, I have to brace my hand up to even change anything about this screen setup here. But like, if I wanted to change anything with the vehicle, for example, I have to brace my hand up here and take my ass off the road, which is not very safe at all, and I highly recommend, if you are going to change anything on the screen, since it is not fast enough, just to pull over to the side of the road, because honestly, it's just so dangerous to even use this while driving. Now, VW really does have to speed this up in the 8.5 generation, or the next generation of Golf, because if they are going to go all touchscreen, that is something that they have to change, obviously. But, I mean, overall, the screen isn't that big of an issue. Ooh, a Bentley Continental. But, yeah, overall, this screen setup, it's not that big of an issue. I mean, you can really easily get used to it. This screen, however, this screen's perfect. It doesn't need to be any more complicated. It's a perfect use of a screen. It behaves and everything just like Audi's MMI system or virtual cockpit. It really behaves the exact same way. I have absolutely no complaints about that. So the screens, the interior, then that moves on to my next point, that is the interior on this car. And that is the interior, the quality in general, it's not great. I would say it's definitely a step down from the Mark 7. The Mark 7 I thought was a lot better in terms of quality. But honestly, I really don't think that quality in this type of car matters that much. You're never really going to be touching the improper parts. For example, a lot of people said there's a lot of cheap plastic right here and down here, but and in the entire back seat, the entire rear door panel is plastic, this material. But who cares? Because you're never going to be sitting in the back seat, and I've never really touched that in general. The parts you do touch, the steering wheel, the seats, the dashboard, it's all typical for this type of car. This car is nowhere near a Lamborghini Huracan or a high-end Audi or a Porsche. But what it is a Volkswagen hatchback. It isn't Volkswagen's top-of-the-line model. This car is an SE. It's the middle trim level with the Autobahn seats. And the seats do feel very high quality for this type of car. And for the parts that you do touch, I think that they've done a very good job in terms of quality for this car. Quality in this car it's very, very good. I'm just gonna say that. For the parts you touch, it's very, very good. I don't care about the reviewers telling everyone that this car is not as good as the Mark 7. I do agree with that, But when you're living a day-to-day, you're never going to be touching this every day. It's just not, you just don't do that. If you don't want to touch it, you don't have to touch it. That's the way I see it. If the Mark 7 quality is better, then go and buy a Mark 7. But in general, the things you touch in this car is way better than the Mark 7. I'll leave it on that for the interior quality. But let's talk about exterior. This car, I think this is Volkswagen's best looking car in the exterior. I'll put some pictures up on the screen of the exterior, but Volkswagen did a very good redesign on this car. I love the front end. It's very chill. The fog lights make it more hip, and more, the fog lights make it more hip and noticeable as a GTI. And the rear, it does match their lineup very well. I'm glad that they didn't keep that Mark 7 design, and I really like the look of this car in general. Now, main points on this car. Power. This car has a 2-liter turbocharged engine, making 245 horsepower and about 315 pound-feet of torque. And honestly, I think that's enough. As a daily driver and as an owner, I was gonna put an exhaust and a cold air intake on this car. But the amount of noise you get out of this exhaust, which is VW Sport exhaust, and sure, the stock air intake noises can be a bit annoying, but I drive in sport mode and in a sport transmission. I feel like that this is the perfect amount of power and the perfect sound for this car. I don't think you need anything louder, and I don't think a cold air intake is that immediate. On the Mark 7, when I drove that car, it felt quiet. It didn't feel loud, and I do like a loud and a good sounding car. But this car, you don't need to do that immediately. On the Mark 7, you do need it. As soon as you get the car, for a car enthusiast, you need an air intake and an exhaust. But right now, I don't think I'm going to be doing that immediately, just because that it doesn't need it. I honestly think that the power here is perfect. I mean, going through these windy roads here, it is the power, the pickup on the accelerator and the braking. It's perfect. There is nothing better that Volkswagen could have done to improve the responsiveness of the gas pedal and the brake pedal. The brake pedal is very, very, very car.
Very, very, very car.
Yeah.
Keep that in.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep that in. The gas pedal and the brake pedal are very, very responsive, and the brake pedal is very firm. I mean, come around here, ready? It's very responsive, it's firm. The gas and the brake pedal, the brake pedal is firm, the gas pedal is responsive. But in the handling, this handling, the way that you can change your drive modes in here and change how sporty and stiff you want the handling is just amazing. You couldn't have done that as well with the Mark 7. Now, this car, it really drives like a Mark 7 on a stage 1 and 2. On the Mark 7, the gas and the brake aren't as responsive. This car, you really feel that
mail truck.
Welcome to Brookline. You really do feel the responsiveness in the steering and the brakes and everything, like a stage 1 tune car should. The Mark 7, it just didn't have any of that. It didn't have emphasis in that. That's what I really like about this car, is it just feels sporty, and even though in the end of the day it's just a Volkswagen hatchback. And you can definitely hear the active sound control throughout the car. Basically, there's sound that pumps in through these speakers, but honestly, like, it does, as an owner here, it's not that bad as what the reviewers say it is. The reviewers make it sound like the engine on the outside does not sound like what it sounds like on the inside, basically. on the outside, at the higher RPMs, it does the pops, it does a little bit of pops and burbles in the higher RPMs. And but yeah, for the RPMs, you do hear lots of burbles and in the higher RPMs. So the active sound control, yes, it does pump more sound throughout the cabin, but it is not as bad as other reviews say it is. I don't know if it's bad or good, that's on your preference, but the power, handling it, all those aspects is very, very good. So finally, as we are coming up back to base on this video, I want to talk about the main point of this video, and that is it worth it to upgrade from a Mark 7 Golf? And to give you that answer, I would have to say, if you have a Mark 7 Golf, I wouldn't upgrade. The two cars are very, very similar in a lot of ways, and I don't think there's enough changes in the Mark 8 to upgrade from a Mark 7. Because the things that the Mark 7 owners like with the screen and the exterior, if they really like their car, keep it. If there's no reason to upgrade, then don't upgrade it. Just like your iPhone. If the iPhone 13 comes out and you have an iPhone 12, do you really need the better camera? No. Then don't even upgrade it if you don't even need to. But overall, if you are just coming into the GTI brand or fan base, whatever you want to call it, is it worth it to get a Mark 8 over a Mark 7? If you can afford it, absolutely. I think that the Mark 8 has plenty more changes than the Mark 7. And if you can't afford the Mark 8, I would go with the Mark 7 or a Mark 7.5. I drove a Mark 7.5 in 2021, and I really enjoyed that car. But since I had since the Mark 8 was available, I went with the Mark 8 because I like that extra power and I like the extra torque and etc. But that's my opinion on that. And finally, the big difference between those two, safety features. So when you drive this car, all of the safety features turn on. They're all stuck on. Auto start stop, the speed limit sign in your dashboard, the lane keep assist, which if you drift out of your lane, corrects it for you, just like that. And the blind spot monitoring and things like that. You can click this button here and it does turn them off. This button here, it does turn them off, but I don't see the point of why you want to turn them off. I think if you're buying this car for the safety features over the Mark 7, why would you turn them off, basically? So, finally, price. So this car starts at $29,000. Middle trims SEs start around $35,000, and Autobahn is the highest trim, obviously, so that goes at around $45,000. My opinion is I don't think the Autobahn's really needed. I think that since you can get the Autobahn seats in the SE, the only really difference between the Autobahn is if you want that ugly Palma yellow color, or, I'm sorry if I offended everyone that I bought that color, but it's ugly, and the heads-up display. But since, if you don't really need a heads-up display, I would save the money and go with the SE with the Autobahn seats. I like the Autobahn seats because they hold you in and everything, and it's definitely an improvement over, let's say, the tartan pattern, obviously. So quickly, I'll just show you the backup camera, everything. So it is much improved over the Mark 7. It's way clearer, and you have park distance lines and everything in front of your parking sensors. But overall, this car is a fantastic car to own. It's a fantastic car to live with, and if you ever have the chance to get behind the wheel of one, I highly recommend you do. So I'll do a full-on more review. I know I didn't get to touch on all the features in this car, all the differences, but I will do a full-on review in the future with this car. More to come. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you like this video, smash that subscribe button and like the video and comment down below what is your favorite part about the market. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.